There's a new push, I'm feeling it here in the US at least, is the WNBA, the Women's National Basketball.
The key is to understand that female basketball is a different product. Woman is more tactical, is more strategical, is more smart.
Ah.
Yes, stylish.
I really have to check these out.
Serbia, Lithuania, Latvia, Greece, it's amazing the level of passion that you have in Europe for basketball.
Welcome to Brandventures, and get ready for an exciting adventure into the world of brand innovation on the Brandventures podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the Brandventures, the show that's going to take you into the world of adventurous brands. My name is Gustavo and I'm your host. And today we have another Gustavo as a guest. His name is Gustavo Arellano. He's the head of commercial development at FIBA, and he's the director of also of e-FIBA. And to help me host today's episode, the gorgeous Raquel Pomplun. Welcome to the Brandventures, guys.
Woo! Hi.
The first thing is, what does FIBA stand for? Can you explain to our audience?
The acronym comes from the French name, which is Fédération Internationale de Basketball, basically International Basketball Federation. We are the organization who gathers all the national basketball federations in the world, meaning that we have 213 federations associated to our organization. It's actually more than UN. We have more countries than the United Nations.
That's nice to know.
FIBA, at the end of the day, is the organization. The political side is the structure that needs to happen for everything to run, but it's not what we're pushing commercially. It's our event. So hopefully next World Cup, that maybe, because it haven't happened in the last few years, USA will win. Maybe you will hear more from the World Cup and not from FIBA.
Ah,
That's interesting. So there's a new push. I'm feeling it here in the US at least, is the WNBA, right? The Women's National Basketball Association, and they're taking over. It's everywhere. So you guys are the organization that helps the NBA. How are you guys related, and have you felt the impact of the women's basketball?
Start with the second question, how we organize. NBA is a private organization, private league, owned by the franchises that compose the NBA. But back in 1992, when it was agreed between FIBA and the NBA that the American NBA players will be participating to the Olympics, we established a very good relationship, and NBA is part of our board, meaning that NBA has a vote and they are aware, and we are very well connected from, again, governance point of view, meaning that NBA is best interest is to develop basketball globally because it helps their business, and it's also our interest and it's our purpose to develop basketball globally. That's the relationship between NBA and FIBA. WNBA is a different organization, also independent. We are not directly connected with them, but we applaud and we are very happy with the next steps that they're taking in terms of improving the salaries conditions for the players, investment. They did a huge round of investors, or they launched a round for investment to take the league to the next level. The effect of Kylie Clark, we cannot deny it. It is there, and it was planned. It was properly executed, and the impact is now global. And now we're seeing more and more girls jump into the basketball court. So first, we are very grateful and very happy to see WNBA striving and changing things from conditions to the teams to filling venues, records in attendance, more engaging content. They are doing all good. And for us, just to close, we have in our strategic plan the last 4 years and for the next 4 years, women in basketball as a great pillar, because it is our mission to keep developing basketball everywhere in the world.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely feeling it. Nike's doing a big push, and I feel the female sports is just catching on, right?
yeah.
Well, Raquel, what do you think?
No, I definitely do feel a shift in both commercial and also the consumption audience-wise of female sports. I don't think it was as big, let's say like 2 to 3 decades ago, but now that mothers encourage their daughters, fathers encourage their daughters. It's not just fathers. It's like moms are like, no, like for example, my daughter, she's 4. I'm like, okay, what do you want? Soccer or basketball? So definitely I see this shift. And also it is very encouraging, like you said, Gustavo, that they're getting more things in place for women to benefit from playing the sports professionally and be encouraged to stay there, because most of the time they're like, meh, well, if I can make the same in an office that I play my passion and I don't know, whatever, and not get injured by the time I'm 30, right? I'll just stay in the office, right? So definitely you mentioning that is very encouraging for as a female audience, as a mom of a girl, to see those changes, because you're like, okay, there is a career here, there's a career path opportunity, and you will be protected. So I think it's amazing what you guys are doing.
We are working hard to have those structures in place when a kid is practicing basketball and avoid the dropout, the famous dropout. There are a lot of girls that after puberty, after a certain age, they just stop playing basketball because there is not a team to go, there is not a gym to continue practicing, there is not enough coaches, there is not a league for them to play. It's happening worldwide. So now the conversation is there. The gap's still big, but now I can say properly that we are closing that gap and that we are in the right direction. Still a lot of work to do. Conditions are not the same. The commercial potential is there, but again, the direction is there, and we're doing strive in the correct direction to make sure that the game is equally beneficial for everyone.
I have a question. What do you think the potential for brands are right now?
Oh,
There's huge viewership in the NBA, and the WNBA is growing. And what are the gaps that you see that brands, female brands, and brands in general can make the most out of this growing sport?
The key is to understand that female basketball is a different product. We cannot compare it with the men's ball. If the game that the men's play is very different. A woman is more tactical, it's more strategical, it's more smart. Men's basketball is way physical. So when you understand the game different and you see a different product and you appreciate it, you understand that it's just a new product that needs to be developed as any other. It's not necessarily the comparison or the competition for the men's sport. And this, to answer your question, is a huge potential for brands, because when you start to exploit it as such and you start to captivating new audiences because they are more connected to that type of basketball versus the typical, very physical, tall guys basketball that you are used to, then you are tapping into not only new audiences, but new money, new budgets, and the opportunities are limitless.
wait, so you mentioned the male basketball is tall. So what is the average height for female basketball?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know exactly that number. I will need to do the research about it, but it's
But
way
they're not as
it's
tall?
no, it's not as tall. It's like I'm afraid to say that maybe even 20, 30 centimeters less than the average men playing basketball. I think NBA is close to 2 meters, 198. For men, maybe women could be 185, 190. But again, don't quote me on this one for girls because I don't know exactly
Too late. You're
the
being quoted right now.
yeah.
But a ballpark.
Yeah, ballpark. It's less for sure, but I invite you to see a girls' game. Is the rotations, the tactics, the how aesthetic they are playing the game, how they can put the ball where they have to, how the shooting technique is. It's very different, and it is a product itself that now I don't want to say it's booming. It's going through a different state of development. Maybe we're late. It should have happened before, but it's going well, and we are enjoying it. Not only in the American continent, we're seeing a big explosion in Asia, in China. Women's basketball is top. Australia always have been a very competitive country. Now we have Euroleague women in Europe as a great competition. Just last weekend we have had the final six in Zaragoza. We have players from all around the world for the first time. Distribution as never before, promotion. It is taking literally new heights.
Wow.
Amazing. That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, we're definitely feeling the heat. And speaking of heat, I hear a little rumor of NBA that's actually trying to make a move into Europe. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. It was announced recently by Commissioner Adam Silver, seated together with our Secretary General Andrea Saklis.
The next stage, and that is to explore a potential league in Europe with FIBA as our partners.
That is good news for European basketball, which have been fragmented for the last few years. But here in Europe, basketball is played very, very seriously. When you see the venues here, basketball is a religion in many countries, and the level, the technique, I would say the powerhouses that we find in Europe, it's remarkable. And I think NBA just noticed that.
You have like Spain is really big, and in Eastern Europe is super big as well. So some of the biggest stars.
Serbia, Lithuania, Latvia, Greece. There are a few videos where when they play the classic in Greece, the guy does the tip off, and then everybody is celebrating in a way that they need to stop the game because everybody's invading the court and putting things. I invite you to see those videos. It's amazing. It's amazing the level of passion that you have in Europe for basketball.
So in Europe, competitive is really competitive. Like it takes competitiveness to another level as well.
Yes, and you can see that Netflix just did a show, Courts of Gold, how difficult it was for USA to get the gold medal in the Olympics. We work with Netflix and the IOC to produce that piece of content, and it is remarkable. It is not as simple as it was before. And metrics, for example, in the 1992, they played USA team play only against 2 or 3 NBA players in the Olympics. Now it was more than 40 NBA players that were playing in the Olympics. So the game is more global than ever. You can see the last MVPs for the last 10 years have been a foreigner from Greece, from Serbia, from France. It is not anymore only an American game. And now they're catching up, and it's fun to watch that process.
Do you think Papua New Guinea has a slight disadvantage, or like
For sure they have.
do they make?
For sure they have, but with all due respect to the Federation of Basketball of Papua New Guinea, they may have a chance in the Continental Cup.
100%.
Absolutely, and I like what you said about the female, the difference between the female league and the male league. It's a little more less physical, perhaps a little more artistic, yeah, flowy, and that also
Ah.
Yes, stylish.
exactly.
I really have to check these out.
Please, of course.
Yeah, okay, where can you catch one of these games? What's a hot thing right now? Where do you watch?
Well, just this weekend we had, like I told you, the final 6 of EuroLeague Women. Next year, big milestone, we have the Women's Basketball World Cup. It will be played in Germany. It's an event to miss. You will have all the powerhouses, all the best players in the world will be there fighting for that title. US have been dominant in this competition, but like I said before, as in men, it's also happening in women. The gap is closing up, and basketball is more global than ever.
Nice. Raquel, do you want to go to Germany next year?
Oh, please, can we just go and do like a live podcast over there?
Of course, courtside seats, and of course, we will have a very good view for those games, so you can experience firsthand, of course.
There's so many cool things happening. There's another like for live streaming, right? The type of the way that you're seeing sports is going to change. I've seen now they have cameras that can track real time 3D objects, so you can position yourself anywhere in the court, for example. Are there any technologies that you guys are developing that are gonna push the game forward?
Plenty. It's not, to be clear, it's not us developing. We are in charge of developing the game. We partner with companies that are developing such as solutions to either make automated production, to track other metrics, to make the feed more engaging. But more importantly, we are in the fight of attention. Like any other sport, like any other property, we're looking for you to stay with us when you're scrolling in your phone, when you're catching the game in your TV or your laptop. We are looking for you to feel comfortable and as entertained, because at the end we are in that business and it is our role to make sure that not only you but your girl but our my son, it feels entertained every time that they see basketball.
I love that. People want to celebrate more than anything.
That's the idea.
Absolutely. And Raquel, do you know that Gustavo is the director of e-FIBA?
I did know, but I also didn't remember. Thank you for the reminder. So, what is e-FIBA?
e-FIBA is the esports component of FIBA. Basically, it's the competition, the platform that we give for kids to play NBA 2K. This is the game that we play, NBA 2K. So that's the way. Fun fact, we play 5v5. So literally, you are a character in the game. You're not rotating among others. You are center, you are power forward, you are the pivot. So you are you need to have the chemistry with your other four teammates. That's how we play. And people ask us why, if we are in charge of developing the sport, why are we dealing with kids with a console? And the answer is very simple. I'm sure, Gus, Raquel, you engage with basketball when you watch either Michael Jordan on the TV. I engage with basketball when Venezuela back in the days qualified for the Olympics in 1992. There are those moments that catch your attention to be connected with basketball. For our generation was mostly TV. There is a new generation coming after us that they are not seeing basketball for the first time, neither in the school or through TV. They are watching through a streamer, they're watching the game through the console. So we need to embrace that community. We need to also explaining that there is a competition system, that there is a global movement led by not only the federation, but all the organizations related to basketball. So we need to be there where they are. So that's the answer for e-FIBA.
Amazing. I mean, the same thing happened with FIFA, right? With the game, it just exploded. I mean, I played FIFA since 1996, and while you're not playing, you're not in the field, you can strategize and you can pick your favorite players and you can learn about the game.
Know about the rules, know how it's played, know the teams. Now the reality, our reality, this generation, it's more likely that a person gets the first knowledge about basketball through a console rather than with a ball in their hands in the school, which was the way of we learning the rules of basketball. So we need to be there when they are. We need to be there waiting for sending the message, inviting to be part of the community, and inviting them also to take the ball and do some hoops outside.
I was going to say that in turn will incentivize them to go outside, and it's like, oh, I want to apply it. Wasn't one of the biggest NASCAR winners or champions started playing Gran Turismo, and then he ended up going to be one of the best drivers. I just saw the movie, by the way.
I was also to say, I think I saw the movie about it. I don't know if it was a real story, but yeah,
it's a real story.
There is a crossover.
It's a real story.
Yeah,
there is a crossover for sure, and I am so glad, because I feel like sports is something that's been lost in the last decade, and if we can bring it back that way, why not?
Yeah, and it's a game. It's a way. Games are a way of us, dealing in a social environment with fellow human being in general. And you can say games have an element of strategy, tactic. In the real world, they have a physicality element, but I think like video games extract the strategy aspect into the kid's brain. So for me, for example, playing FIFA and I even played some basketball games. I forget names of
NBA Live or NBA 2K, I'm sure.
NBA 2K, and they're super fun. And even you learn the rules, like you said. You learn the players' names and you follow them, and then you see new generations and you see their ranking, what kind of acceleration versus shooting power, and it's a lot more info that you would get from the live. So I feel like those two worlds are merging, and it's beautiful because it's still the game.
There is data that supports that. Now it's more likely that you become a fan of a game, of a sport, if you play that game in a video game 3 times more than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So there is a clear relationship between becoming a fan and being part of a community, starting by there. And we have learned also a big valuable lesson that I would like to share with you guys is that there is a trend now, or the idea that the span of attention is getting shorter, that we need to maybe change our rules. It should not be 2 hours, why we should play 1 hour. Let's try to change everything that is set up because this generation is consuming differently. And yes, there is some truth to that. But what we have found through projects with Twitch, with projects with YouTube and other platforms is that if the content is correct, if we speak the right language, these people can stay there for hours. 4 or 5 hours was the average time for people to consume basketball on Twitch, not 2 hours. So we need to understand that it's not about those rules on those things that will necessarily make those changes to keep that engagement, is to send the message in the right way. So for us, took us few years to understand that it is how we send that message and not necessarily go for highlights. Let's do 2 quarters instead of 4. Let's make, because everybody will be boring in the stadium. Maybe true, but if we don't adjust the content on how people would like to consume it, Twitch, very well, having a streamer commenting on top, interacting, and having those in and outs, then that is a way to keep increasing our footprint. And that's the path that we decided to take.
FIBA's taking the right steps.
I love it, and I would like to close this off. I want to ask you what do you think the next 5 years look like for FIBA?
That's a nice question. I think following our strategic pillars, the first is women's game will be bigger. We will have more commercial opportunities, and we will be having more and more girls reaching the first level. That means that more and more countries will have a first division of basketball. It's not true that all countries in the world have a women's league, and we will have way more of those. Second, we will have more federations working better. Professionalization in sport is a big issue for our sports and many other sports. So now we're having more and more professionals in the right positions, doing the right work all around the world. We always say that we will do our job better if our federations do better. And like I said before, there are 213 of them. So it's a big, big challenge to close that gap. And we will be closer, maybe not in 5 years, but we will be closer to that vision that we have to be the biggest community of sports in the world. That's our vision. We want to be the biggest sports community in the world. We are not far from the first one. Everybody knows what's the first one worldwide. I don't want to say here. I don't want to keep pushing, but we are strong second, and but growing and closing that gap. So that we will be in a better position now. That we will be in a way better position than where we are now in that regard.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gustavo, for coming on to the Brandventures, and of course, the wonderful Raquel to come back to our podcast. We may have her come into other shows. What do you think, Raquel?
Hey, I can come and go.
Vote here, comment, whatever. Please ask Raquel to stay.
But thank you so much for being with us, Gustavo. And actually, I am so glad to be part of this episode. Thank you, Goose, for having me, because I learned a lot, and I cannot wait to stream some female FIBA games, because the way you describe them, it is the type of thing that I love to consume in my brain.
Absolutely, and we want to make it out there and support it as much as we can. And started with the Brandventure show. So, if you like what you're seeing, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and you follow us, and you put in some comments, ask Gustavo stuff. He's going to be checking the comments below, right, Gustavo?
For sure.
And he's going to be answering every question that you may have. This is all the time that we have today. Thank you, Gustavo. Thank you, Raquel, for coming. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
GP5, production for adventurous brands.